should be. Aha, there we go. I think we're live. So, yes, this is Emily Richards, founder of the Stickman Consultancy, and I am joined this evening by David Ward, Headmaster of Riverston School. Hello, David.
Hello, how are you, Emily?
Hi there. Lovely to have you with us, David. And David, for those of you who don't know, but he's very well known in the industry, has a huge amount of experience, 30 years experience across independent and state schools in the UK, and has held several headship positions. So he kind of knows his stuff. Plus, he's always really supportive of Stickman. So we're hugely grateful for you giving up your time tonight, David. And we're so delighted to be chatting to you. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Emily, for inviting me. It's actually a delight to be here. And, you know, in life, you learn lots of skills, but going live on an Instagram first for me. And so I am a bit nervous. My palms are a bit sweaty, but I'm really in good company. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Oh, well, worry not. It's just a chat. There's nobody here. It's just you and I. Let's pretend. So maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe what attracted you to the profession, and perhaps an overview of your career history.
Okay, I'll try not to be too long. I was brought up in Cheshire, in Frodsham, and I went to school in North Wales at St David's College, which is a dyslexic school. And dyslexic, I think I'm a bit OCD. I have lots of sort of they call it SEN. I don't actually like special education needs. I actually think we're all unique and we've all got different talents. We've also got different things we need to resolve. I had such good support at school, such good support. And I had an outstanding headmaster, which John Mayer, he was an inspiration for me, as were other staff there. I did a lot of sailing. I did a lot of playing rugby. I did a lot of school. I did do some schoolwork. And then I got some qualifications. I was good at rugby. I was lucky to play England under 19, under 23. I played professionally for 4 years. And sport carried me through, as I think a lot of children in schools have a unique talent, whether it be in creative arts or music. And for me, it was sport. And so, but also outdoor pursuits. I did a lot of sailing, a lot of outdoor pursuits, sort of climbing in North Wales. Although I don't like heights, I did lots of climbing. And from there, I went to All Sages College, got my teaching degree. And I then found my wife. I met my wife, which is Jane, who's an amazing person, still married after 32 years. Moved to Cambridgeshire, and I had a job in a state school for 2 years, and then I moved to Kimbolton. I did 10 years at Kimbolton as a housemaster, and the privilege of looking after children, you know, sending your child away to be looked after, the girls' boarding house. We had a great time, and it was a privilege, and we're still in contact with lots of children we looked after then. Then I went on to a deputy headship in Oxfordshire. From there, I did 4 years and then moved to my first headship at 39 at St Felix in Southwold, which is a girls' school, which I turned into a co-ed school over 7 years, doubled the numbers. And then personally, my father was terminally ill. I moved up to Nottinghamshire, Lincolnshire, and I did 2 years at Skegness Grammar School. So I worked in the state sector, then moved into the independent sector. And then I moved, and then I took the grammar school into David Ross Foundation, so an academy group, which is really, really interesting. And then I moved to Breedon School in Gloucestershire, and I did 6 years there running an SEN school. And then fortuitously, I had the opportunity to go back to St David's, like a full circle, to sit between sort of the head and the chair governors and to support the SLT, but market the school, and traveling all over the world to Moscow, Kenya, Dubai, recruiting students, both expats and UK students as well, from prep schools in the UK to St David's in North Wales. And then I met, who I knew this lady many, many years ago, Anita Gleave, and they had a job going at Chatsworth. And I found myself working for Chatsworth. So I ran Crown Prep School in High Wycombe for a term. And then the job came up here at Riverston, which is an autistic school looking after 120 children and just under 70 brilliant staff. And it's a privilege and I love it. And that's where I am now, down in Riverston.
Amazing, amazing. So much experience, so varied all over the country. It's really lovely to hear you talk through that. And, it's really the point about you sort of doubling numbers as well. David's always kind of messaging me or jumping on a call, and kind of we talk marketing quite a lot. So you've obviously got that in your blood, and I really enjoy our chats. So yeah, really good to hear your history and what brought you to the industry. So Riverston, then, tell us what's maybe unique or what's amazing about that school.
Well, the school, we run it as a mainstream school. It has a house system, it has a curriculum, broad subjects, but it's also about life skills and giving these children an opportunity to go out there and be something about themselves. Many of them have been school refusers before. Many of them really difficult to get into school. Many of them don't like noise, public arenas where lots of people. So our classes are very small, but we have what's called our parallel curriculum, which was designed by my deputy, El Vinor, and it's a parallel in the sense that they're taught the same curriculum, but they're in different year groups. So I've got years 7, 8, 9, all in the same class. When I say class, 6, 8 in a class, maybe a learning support teacher helping and actually teaching alongside the teacher in the classroom. We do sport, we do music, we have trips out. One of my goals as the head here, and it's quite interesting, I want to take every attraction in London that's free, and our children have Oyster cards so they can go on any double-decker bus. And by the time they leave, maybe 7, 8 years, they've been to every attraction in London. That's our we're also a green school, so we're turning what is 4 Victorian buildings with a sports hall and a lovely playground into sort of a green sensory type garden area around London, because for our children, the opportunity to get out and play on grass and is very different from maybe the rural schools I've led in the past. So it's an interesting school that I have to say it's a very family orientated school. Very much. Staff are so dedicated. There isn't much turnover in staff because they really enjoy it, and I value them so much. And I've introduced quite a few ideas over the years. I've had a few marketing things that I've done, but they all start from the classroom. It all starts from the pupils, and I believe if you grow from within and you look at your school and you say, what is really good about it? What do we say we are brilliant about it? And to us, yes, it's a family friendly school. That comes by good pastoral care. It comes by good tutoring. We have an hour every morning where the children sit and they're worked with on PHSC. They talk to staff. We have themes for every week. And everyone gets involved in that, and we link it to the outside and what's going on in this wider society. But it's also about some quiet, calm time. On a bus or a taxi for 45 minutes to an hour to get to school, and it's a time for them to just get their ideas of what they want to do for that day, what lessons they're going to go to, and get prepared. And there's a very calmness around the school, which is nice. And we have a house system, we have house competitions. We have very good. We have our sort of Olympic stickers that they come to the head study of, and they get 10 house points for that. And we have Olympic stickers. We have sort of 6 real values: humility, humanity, humor, health we focus on, happiness is so important, and help. How do people ask for help? As a child, how do you ask for help? And as an adult, how do you recognize someone needs help? And I think as we moved into 2022, what's important in our schools, I think it's really going to be about well-being and happiness, and how we do that well in the independent sector, but also the state sector. There are some good examples as well, and we should reach out as a community. So from my perspective of the school, how I've grown my schools is literally start from within, get your staff together, have a strategy of where you're going to take your school, and actually involve the whole, from the staff to the students to the parents to the local community, what's out there that would like to know about your school, and literally just tell a story. That's it. You're telling your story of, why are you passionate to be there as a student? Why do you want to wear that school badge or your uniform? A lot of our students have very sensory issues, so we allow them to wear their tracksuit, their school tracksuit, or their school uniform. It doesn't matter if you're doing games on that day or not, as long as you're wearing something that you feel comfortable in, but also you can relate to. So we've changed the school badge. We've rebranded the whole school. Now, I've only been there since September, but we involved the students in that. We looked at where we talked to them about the uniform and what they felt comfortable in wearing, and we've come up with a very smart blazer, a very smart sports kit, and they love it. And I think that's that involvement and that inclusion and their student voice and actually the parent voice and the staff voice is so important in your marketing. Once you get that strategy right, yes, you have your Instagram, you have your Twitter, you have your Facebook, you have all different platforms, and they open opportunities for people to see your school in action. But actually, it's about your website, how you do your website, who's involved in your website, who's internally looking after it, who are you actually, hopefully Stickman and everyone to look after you in order to guide you. And I think it's you see what other people are doing, you see what people are talking about out there in society, and you relate it to what you're doing in school.
Yeah, absolutely. And that whole grow from within, that's exactly what we believe in at Stickman, in terms of just sort of looking at the marketing aspect of that. Start with looking after your existing families, your staff, your pupils. You gave some great examples there about getting that buy-in and truly having them on side, on board, and bought into what you're doing and involved with what you're doing. And I love that consultation around the tracksuits. And that's really getting a strong community together, because they're already bought into your school. So like you say, all that external stuff, all that social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, it's great for your prospective families, but actually getting that internal community right first, securing that, making that really stable, and then actually great things will come from that in terms of word of mouth, about your school. And as you say, if you've got a kind of succinct, powerful story to tell as well, that's relevant, as you say, to what's going on in the world, then it can only lead to good things and building a great reputation for your school. So that grow from within really does strike a chord with what we believe in. So
I think
hence really enjoying my chats with you.
but yeah, I've been very lucky. I've been involved in people like ISA, the Independent Schools Association. I've been involved in the Society of Heads, and that connection with other heads and other marketing people is really important. And when you have that sort of connection with people, you can spin off each other. And actually, it's about having fun. We've lost that word, and it's called fun. And run sort of campaigns, or if you want to call it a campaign, or when you want to look at an issue that we think our children should be educated in, you have fun with that. Whatever you're trying to twist on. We have a story. We've been there, seen it. What's going to happen to our children as they grow older, and who are they going to turn to for advice and support? And it's the schools, and we have a lot of children from 12 different boroughs in London who come from very different backgrounds, and it's about giving them sort of values, but also a way forward that they can be successful. Someone said to me, how did you become where you are? Well, I was inspired at school, to John Mayer. I always wanted to be a headmaster, from the age of
amazing.
Oh, that's a bit strange. Why don't you have a career in this and a career in that? Along the way, I've been a teacher of design technology. I love my outdoor pursuits, teaching. So I had that contrast from teaching in a workshop in the morning and then going out on the river with 8 children and paddling with them or sailing with them. I took 28 children to the Rockies in Canada with 5 other brilliant staff. So 28 children for 28 days in the Rockies from Vancouver all the way through the Rockies coming out of Calgary. And we river rafted, we went pony trekking, we went abseiling, we went walking on a glacier. We did everything you could, as well as being bitten by mosquitoes in the Rockies. And the children, they're not children, they're young adults of 30, 35. They look back on that and they learned about themselves. And that's really important, about learning about yourself and how you apply it then to around you, your family, and then actually your school, how you represent your school in whatever that may be. But then your first job, how do you go on to university? And a lot of my children, I've got sixth formers and looking at university places at the moment. 4 of them have got unconditional offers and the places they're going to. But they need the experience and to become independent, how to live on their own, how to boil an egg, how to switch a washing machine on, or actually find a washing machine and then put the stuff in. All those things about living yourself as an independent person, they're the skills that my children need. And so where quite a lot of people have gap years, we have a college system where we've got children they're young adults who are doing work experience and learning and getting their level 3s or their A levels, etc., and then going on to be successful. And I think they'll have 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 careers, like I've had 5 headships.
Amazing. Oh, I just love listening to you. It's fantastic. Julie says hi, by the way. Julie Keys is on here. So hi to Julie. So what would you say if you had to pinpoint one thing that your school's done that has had the biggest impact on pupil recruitment? What might that be?
I'd have to say, for start, it's the rebrand, because when we rebranded, the crest, the school had been a prep school for 50 odd years, owned by the Lewis family, and Chatsworth bought it. It had red all in the badge, it had red in their statement. Red isn't good for autistic children at all. It doesn't sit well with them. But also, we wanted them to have an input in valuing their brand and their school. And then it made us think about what are the things that we're doing in school. And sport is one thing that they love. They love football, etc. They love running around the track. And it's about engaging in the students to get their voice and their thought process, and also the staff. And we're right on the A20 with 2 big signs out there, and people are coming past and, is this a new school? No, it's the same school, but we've just made it into a new brand. And all the schools I've had have been schools that have needed to get out there to promote themselves, but they were all very distinct from other schools. I could get 10 prospectuses from one school, from different schools, and put my hand over the top, and you could just put a sticker over the name, and actually they look very similar all the way through. How to make your school or the reputation of that school, what is it that stands out that everyone else isn't doing? Although we're all doing the same thing, you may just do it differently. But also you've got a group of very talented staff there who not only teach chemistry or history or Latin or maths, they're also people who have skills outside the lessons, who will get part of the games team, who will go on that Duke of Edinburgh trip, will be involved in forest school. And actually they need some recognition. And so as a senior management, one of the things I did at school was change the sort of structure to have a new middle leaders team, and that middle leaders team allowed you really to these people. I was very lucky. I had a headmaster, Roger Peel at Kimbolton, who really pushed me to take on a housemaster's job, which was my stepping stone into management. And I did an MA over 4 years with De Montfort University. But had he not pushed me, and had I not put people into those positions, because unless you've tried something and you wear the t-shirt and you've moved 1,000 chairs, actually organizing the assembly is quite easy. So it's giving up people the opportunity. And it was the rebrand, I think, that really was exciting right at the start of this headship.
Wow. Gosh, it's amazing. Steve Hunt is also on here, and he says, hi Steve, bit off topic, but is David still cycling to work? If so, well done.
I do cycle to work, and it's quite interesting cycling in London, different than Lincolnshire where I live. And so my real hobbies, I love cycling, I love playing golf. I still like the outdoor pursuits, but really skiing, I do like skiing when you can get there and you can go skiing. It's mainly cycling weekends in Lincolnshire I do, and playing golf. So I have the bike in the back of the car. I bring it down with me to London. I have one daughter who lives in Battersea, and I cycled over the other week to see her 10 miles. And it's great. London is an amazing place that actually on a bike, maybe getting on a Boris bike, they may be called something else soon, is really interesting because you see architecture, you see people, you see culture, you see where, from 200 yards where you go from one street to another street and it completely changes. And I think schools, you think of the thousands of schools we've got, all the different things that they do. When a school closes, I think that's really sad because you lose choice, you know. And some of these schools are really struggling in the sense of their numbers and trying to offer so many things to so many people. It's really difficult for them in order to do it and sustain it compared to some of the bigger schools that can just afford things and just pay for things. I'm very lucky I'm part of a group, and we support each other in the group. It's a very much a group that, we look at things like passion. What are we passionate about? What are we resilient about? What's our integrity? Within the school, what do we really stand for? We try and show that in different ways because they're all different schools. That makes it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have another question. What strategies would David suggest to regional, coastal and country boarding schools to encourage London families to consider alternatives to local day schools, given cost, logistics worries about homesickness, etc.?
Well, the problem with coastal schools is half your catchment is sea, and you've got fish. But on the other side of that sea, there's probably an island like Ireland, if you look on the west coast. And if you look on the east coast, you've got Holland, you've got France. And I think, number one, about all our schools, it's about transport. In London, it's about an hour away. And it's probably about 5 miles in order to travel that hour because of that amount of traffic and how dense the place is. So it's looking at the IS. I'd go to the ISC website and I type in where I live, where I want to, and draw a circle half an hour about where you are, to which schools are then within that vicinity, and then say, right, what would I like my child? What type of school do I want my child? Is it a girls' school? Is it a co-ed school? Is it an all-through school? What is my child good at, or what would I like them to be good at? And go and visit the schools on an open day. Go and have a look at them, because there's such diverse range of schools, but also meet the head, meet the staff, and actually meet the children and ask them the questions that you would like to ask. And imagine your child in the school uniform and saying, is that what I'd like my child to be in, say, 4 or 5 years' time? So if you're going into a prep school, and they're going into reception or year one, meet some of the year sixes who are amazing, or if it's up to 13, the prefects of the school, meet all the children of sort of 8 and 9. What are the opportunities? And also, not just meet the head, but maybe the housemaster or the form tutor, because heads come and go. Some stay there for a long, long time. Some just stay a short period of time. And that's because they are in a cycle of themselves, of their own profession, their own experience, but they also have their own families and their own I've been very lucky that my wife has followed me and my children have followed me, and I was lucky that my children were in my school until 16, and then they said, Dad, I don't want to be in your school anymore. I want to have my own independence. So they went into 2 brilliant schools, and they've done extremely well. But for me, it's, if you're looking at a coastal school, and I used to have families from London coming up to Southwold. I was head at St. Felix for 7 years. It's about the train and it's about transport. North Wales, interestingly, I had families who'd relocate from Hong Kong, lock, stock and barrel, to be in North Wales to then set up so their children could attend the school. So what may be boarding actually you may locate as a whole family because people can work from home now and with the internet, and then they become day pupils. And the cost of boarding is very, very expensive, but compared to say a day pupil, and there are schools who offer bursaries and they offer scholarships. It's about what you can afford, but also what you really value about that school.
Yeah. Yeah, and they can offer something completely different to a London school, can't they? It's completely different environment. We work with schools in London, we work with schools on the coast, and we do get that question sometimes. That they struggle to attract families and staff as well. Good quality staff to work at the school. So it is a struggle, but think about, really do that brainstorming around what it is you can offer that's unique to your school. And as you say, those practical issues as well of transport and, really good transition as well. So that, I can't see who it is who's asked the question. Sorry, it just says LinkedIn user, but it's a great question. And, about those issues of homesickness and everything, that real good, strong transition program and easy routes home and all those things really count.
The homesickness is because, we love our families, and I had, two very supportive parents, but my parents lived in Germany. So I ended up going to boarding school. They started in Germany, they ended up in Algeria. And I ended up going on holiday so every holiday for me, every break, I didn't actually go abroad. I actually stayed with other friends at school or my sisters. But when I did go abroad, it was like a holiday in Germany for the whole summer, or a holiday in Algeria for going to the desert. It was just exciting and an adventure. But yes, I was to start with quite homesick, the first term. But I very soon got into having friends, having sports, having activities, being involved in house competitions. And really, you end up with sort of in those days it was a dormitory. Now they have shared rooms, double rooms, single rooms, but you're in a boarding house which normally has about 30 or 40 children in. So you've got 30 or 40. It was a day all boys school when I was at St. David's. It's now co-ed all the way through. It was like 30, 40 really good friends, and we are still good friends. In fact, there's a whole group of us. We tend to call ourselves the golden age because we're a bit older. But we had a lot of together. And I think that's the thing about boarding, is it does bring a whole community together. Yes. And I think all day schools try to replicate that, about sort of forms, houses, house competitions, part of a Duke of Edinburgh group, maybe a part of a forest school club or of activity. And I think there is a great danger where parents try and do everything. But they're also trying to work and earn the funds to go to send their children to independent school. I've watched this. My mother came to watch me with my sister in Paris when I played rugby for England, but my dad didn't because he was working and couldn't be there. And that was the commitment he was making to earn. But my mum made up for it by spending a lot of money that weekend in Paris. So what I'm trying to say here, that, the commitment of parents to then try and balance what their children do at weekends. And there is a great danger to try and do too much, because schools do a lot in school, whether it be a time club or an activity, and actually just allow the child to go to the library and to the quiet area and read books and play chess. That's equally important downtime as it is. There is a point about having clubs whereby, Warhammer games and, just playing chess and Monopoly and, just board games, really. And again, it's how much time do you allow a child onto a computer to play computer games. It's a balance between, your schoolwork, your homework, doing the things in school, because they're pretty active from the time they arrive at school to when they go, home time.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I know any parents watching this, including myself, that whole screen time issue and knowing what's right, what's wrong, what's the right amount is always a headache. So yeah, I don't think I've got it quite right as a parent yet. But anyway, I'll talk to you about that another time, David. And I guess my next question is, if money was no object, what would you have at Riverston and why?
Well, this is quite interesting because every school I go into, in fact, when I visit school, I go, what can I do here? If it was, if money was no object, and you're going to laugh at this, I'd like a zoo. I like a zoo at Riverston.
A zoo.
When I say a zoo, I mean I was in the biology. In one school I ran, Breeden, they have a farm with pedigree sheep and pigs, etc. And it was brilliant for children because I've always had animals in school. In fact, we have Eggs and Pony at Riverston, and they're two guinea pigs. They're becoming quite famous. The children love going to see them and looking after them. They have a special Riverston house that they live in one of the classrooms. So I like a zoo or a sort of classroom. I've got a couple of children. JJ comes to mind. He loves snakes. He's got lots of snakes at home, and so it's about connecting children to animals. I've always had dogs. I've got a little. Well, he's a Jack Russell stroke Westie called Monty Little Paws. So he actually doesn't come to school with me. He stays in Lincolnshire. But I've had two black Labradors through my headships. One was Digby, and he was with me at St. Felix, my first headship, and he actually came to Skegness as well. So he had his own Facebook account at Skegness. He had his own school bag. It was, I suppose, the starting point of a school therapy dog type, and every have a therapy dog. But it's about children who can then connect with, it could be a school cat or a house cat. Personally, for me, it's dogs. Labradors are just brilliant. He was my first dog, and then my second one was Ted. Interesting, Digby, I went away to a conference, and our house is about a mile away on the drive from the school, and I was away, and Digby got out at home, ran down the drive, sat outside my study, and all the staff thought I was in school, but I was actually away at a conference. And it was only the caretaker, Chris, who recognised that he wasn't. I was away, and had to take him back up to the house. He was just quite happily sat outside my office. And that's the loyalty of dogs and animals, and we can relate to schools. And so if I was going to market, I'd have more animals in schools for them.
I love that. So a zoo. Okay, well, didn't expect you to say that, but a zoo at Riverston. And it's interesting what you say about dogs. And then I heard Ben Evans from Windlesham House talking at the Amquist conference a few weeks ago, and he was saying about his cat, the school cat, and how he has his own Instagram account. And I love those stories because it just brings that extra layer of personality to a school and engagement, doesn't it?
It does, and I spend a lot of time during my day around school, whether it be in the morning greeting children, going into class during registration time, from the nursery, which I love, all the way up to the college older children, and then the lunchtime, being around at lunchtime, playtime. Fridays is celebration day for us. So on Friday we have sort of celebration cake, which is absolutely divine from the kitchens, and we extend the break. So staff get together. I set them challenges to go into a room maybe they've not been into, have a meeting, and we have our SLT meeting in different places all week. It doesn't always happen in the head study or the art in the SEN room. It rotates around the school so that we see the school in different lights.
Oh, I like that.
Children, I love going into classes and just sitting and I do occasionally teach, but my time is taken away really from the classroom. DT was my subject, so I do like the creative arts, but I love music now, and I think as a rugby playing team player, to put an orchestra or a group of musicians together is harder probably than putting your first 15 out or first 11. So it's recognizing staff and saying, what do you need when you're coming back to, what would I do if I had no money, was no object? It's recognizing what would change within the classroom, what would make a difference there, that actually the children would really benefit straight away. But there's always improvements in school, and the development plan of a school should change organically with your staff, that they have, for the wishes of the parents, and also for some of the schools, like a prep school, it's a transition, isn't it, through to a senior school, and a lot of it is about getting through the 11 plus, maybe to a grammar school, or entrance exam at the 13 plus. And I think there's something really good about being in the year 9, year 8, top of the tree, having come all the way through a prep school, and then
Mm,
uh, applying to 3 or 4 different schools that your parents like, that you like as a child, and then being, welcomed into that senior school. And again, starting off in your year 9 all the way through to the sixth form. The education it's been a privilege for me to, run different schools, to work in different schools, but to also meet different people from around the world, but also, you know, the way children apply themselves, they're so creative. Give a child a cardboard box and they'll create, a paddle steamer or whatever it may be, because their imagination and their creativity. I suppose the other thing is, these visual glasses you can get, and you look and you see the planet in a different place. Instead of having to go to, I don't know, the jungle, you're already in the jungle. I suppose with marketing schools, we're trying to create that jungle. We're trying to create the images of our school, but actually what's tangible is the relationships in the school. And it's only by visiting on an open day. To me, when schools have open days on Saturdays, every day should be really an open day. But that's
absolutely.
quite difficult to organise. But if you've got a team of people who are prepared to show, during the lockdown, I would take my mobile phone and I would go on tour with someone around the school, and we'd bump
Mm,
all sorts of people. And one of the things I would say to marketeers is look what you're trying to show, and it doesn't have to be everything. Look what the person is really good at, and if your child's good at music, then you must go to the music department. If they're good at sport, don't miss out the sports department. Uh,
mm,
but also show them the things that are going to be good, like the boarding houses or the dining room meets. One of the key things is not just about teachers; it's about your kitchen staff, it's about your support staff, your minibus drivers. It's the people that make things really work within the school,
mm,
and introduce those. I really think articles are great within magazines, and I focus on my staff, and I just vary it throughout the school.
mm,
Them the line, the spotlight. I don't need the spotlight. Let them have the spotlight, because they're the up and coming people that are really working at the coal face, and also, relating to parents. The job
mm,
is
mm,
just about teaching a subject. It's about being a tutor, and it's about your connection. The role of a school really works on the axle of tutoring and pastoral care. If you get that right, the child will be engaged into the lessons and
mm,
learn, and they're sponges. They'll take it in, and actually with the internet and Mr. Google, they find out even more information, but it's what information they really need to find. And it's the same with a school. When you're marketing a school, everybody does it by the phone. It's not, paper things are needed, but actually e-paper now is probably the most environmentally friendly way to see things. And that's why I think it's so important that schools heads, teachers, certainly governors, should really invest in marketing and look at the way they're doing that marketing. Don't scatter it. Be really focused and look from within, do
mm.
do well, and then sell.
Mm, mm. Totally agree, and love your approach, and your enthusiasm is abundant. And you talk about your staff having the spotlight, but tonight the spotlight is yours, David. And I think it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. And no nerves. I didn't see any nerves. I think you did brilliantly for your first live.
Well,
And we thank you very, very much for giving up your evening to talk to us.
I think you get to a point. Well, actually, everybody. I think in this world where well-being and mental health and support for each other, if you can help somebody else and you can just listen and have a conversation with them, is so important. Whether
Mm,
that thing, whether it actually be your next door neighbour, find out about somebody a bit more, and
yeah.
then try and involve them and support them. That's why it's so important.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been a total joy, and I've really enjoyed finding out more about you. And I didn't know that you were a professional rugby player either. So that's another layer to David Ward that I have uncovered tonight. So yeah, if anybody would like to get in touch with you following this, what's the best way of them contacting you?
Probably LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot, and I'm very happy to, for people to send me questions or to look for advice. I get a great pleasure out of supporting people on looking at CVs, how they apply for jobs, what type of job, where they want to move to next, etc. If it's a parent, I'm very happy to give advice about what they're doing, where they're trying to look, if they're relocating. You know, Having worked in 5 different schools as a head and had the privilege of leading those schools, I've got to know a lot of staff. I've got to know a lot of parents, but also children who are now no longer children. They're now in their 30s or 40s who have got children themselves, and I bump into them or I see them on LinkedIn as CEOs of great companies, and it's a privilege to say I played a little bit of part in their growing up, and I was so lucky at 13 to be inspired. And if I can just inspire one person to go on to do something and also to inspire others, then I think that's a job well done. And that's a good legacy. So it is about your job. It's about what you're doing. But I couldn't do it without the so supportive family I have. My daughters, my wife is just an amazing person. My best friend, we've been married for 32 years, and she's a brilliant, she has her own career in her own right. And I think having that background of a strong family, I have a brother and 2 older sisters who did everything for me when I was a child, and 2 great parents who, no longer with us, but I think about them every day. So having that family unit, and schools are a family unit, and you can sense that when you go around the school, from the head all the way through to everybody who's associated with that school. And there are so many good schools out there. We're very blessed in the UK, and that's why people are all the way around the world, from China who try to replicate to China who send their children, parents who send their children 5,000 miles to educate them in the UK, and then onto our good universities. It's a hidden gem that we don't sell enough. And I think also I don't think the government value it enough. I don't think they put money into, a bit like, yes, we still need to put more money. We're running in buildings that are archaic in many respects and falling apart and not inspirational. And I think the more architects and the more business people who can come back into education and support education and help. And there's some really brilliant companies out there on LinkedIn who are really helpful. And I've met loads of people who are very supportive of the work I've been doing in schools, but also the associations I've been involved in, and the people who support schools and heads and coaches and people who make their living out of supporting schools, is because they want to be part of that process, and they don't get enough recognition, I don't think. I'm hoping tonight they've got a plug that, do look at people on LinkedIn who are educators or helping, or businesses who support, build things, make things, because they want to be involved, and they need to have acknowledgement just as much as the headmaster or whoever celebrity cuts the ribbon to open a new building. A lot of time and effort has gone into creating it. You can have the most beautiful palace, you can have the most beautiful building, but it's the people inside who are inspired, and they're the people who are motivated by that building in order to do greater things. And I think this country have got some superb historical schools, but also modern new schools that are reinventing themselves and who are just startups. There's some brand new schools starting who, and I also think that there is a great link now between the state sector and the independent sector, and that's getting better and better. And having worked both, it's interesting. When I worked in the independent sector, we valued a lot of things like character building and pastoral care and the all-round, well-rounded child. And the state sector, they focus on exams. Although in the independent sector, there's quite a few schools that focus also on academia. But interesting, in the state sector, there's a lot of following on support on CPD and training for staff. So they were actually paid probably better in the state sector and trained better, but they're not valued in certain respects as they are in the independent sector. So there's myths and there's perceptions about both. And when the two sit down around the table with a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, hopefully, there may be, the more cooperation. And I know ISC are doing a lot towards that. And every school has a link with a state school in some form, because it's not just about their school, it's about the other schools around them. So I think it's really important that continues to grow, and we get links between business and schools, because if a business can inspire a child, then they'll hopefully maybe go on to be an engineer, or not just a doctor or a solicitor. They'll actually think about something quite creative, which would be.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes, and it is great, the work that ISE are doing in that space, along with Andrew Lewer, MP of Northamptonshire. So it's great to see that. But yes, I will wrap up there, and thank you once again, David, for your time and for sharing so many inspiring thoughts. It's really, as I say, a joy to speak to you. So and thank you again for all your support that you give to Stickman. It's really appreciated.
Brilliant.
So yes, I will. I think Charlotte's going to end the broadcast for us there, but thank you. I can't see who's watching, but thank you if you're watching, and thanks once again, David.
You're welcome. Thanks, Emily. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.